Mute.
Oh, he's live streaming.
Oh, I see.
He's gonna put us on YouTube. Where'd Bill go?
Disappeared. He didn't want to be on the internet.
I guess probably Mark scared him.
He is a scary guy.
And John, well, I hope Bill didn't lose his internet. We were just talking about internet.
As you're just talking about it, yeah, here he comes.
Yeah, he must have lost it. You're muted, Bill.
You'll have to please excuse me for a minute.
Okay, Mike. We'll be here for a while. What happened? We was talking about the internet. Did you get kicked off?
No, I fat fingered something there. Some message popped up on the screen and I guess clicked the wrong thing.
Okay, well that was telling us that he's streaming that stuff on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So we don't care.
Yeah, we're YouTube stars.
Yeah. Well, I just a while ago turned on the HFK3 over here, and I worked Taiwan on
Really?
17 meters, yeah.
Huh.
And
On sideband or?
No, on digital mode.
Oh, FT8 or?
Yeah, FT8. And oh yeah, Fiji Island, I worked him too. And that was just about the time 17 meters was going dead. It closes up at, and after dark. There's not, and so then as soon as I did that, as soon as it was closing up, and that was at 6:23 whenever I worked that station in Taiwan. And then I switched over to 160 meters, and I can see the screen is full of digital mode right now on 160 meters.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of an antenna do you use on 160? You may have told me.
I have a unipole. It's a very unusual antenna that I designed it for a guy in California a few years ago because he had a postage stamp size backyard, and it's back in the 50s the AM broadcast stations used to use a unipole antenna. They would convert their verticals to a unipole, and the main reason that they was doing it was their towers and their ground radials was 50 years old, and their ground radials was deteriorating, and it would cost them too much money to redo the ground wires, and even some of them had structures over the ground radials and stuff. So they went to this unipole antenna, and I got the idea from that. And you can't hardly find any information on a unipole, but what it is, it's the one I'm using on 80 and 160 meters. It's a 30-foot section of 4-inch diameter irrigation tubing. And then at the top of it, I have a cross of aluminum tubing that's about, I don't know, 3 to 4 foot. And at the ends of it, it's got drop wires that come back down to the ground. So it's kind of like a cage. It's got a big diameter radiator in the middle, and number 12 or 10, I don't remember, drop wires coming down, and you feed it from those drop wires. And it's like having it's a short antenna for 160 or 80 meters.
You said 30 foot high?
It's 30 foot, and it's only got 8 ground radials, and they are only 20 or 30 feet long. So it doesn't have a big ground radial system. It doesn't really need it. But I suppose it'd be better with more, but it works really good as it is. So it's designed as an 80-meter unipole, and I have a loading coil at the bottom of it to get it down to 160 meters.
Does it sit on a big insulator of some sort?
It sits on a electrical glass insulator. I had one here. Well, it sits on something like this, only bigger.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and so what I did on the ground, I poured a pad, cement pad about, must be a foot diameter and maybe 8 inches deep. And this insulator that I have had a bolt sticking out the bottom. So I stuck that down in the concrete. And then the 4-inch irrigation tubing sits right on top of this like that.
Oh, okay.
So that gives me an insulation from the ground. And
So does it have guy wires that hold it up, or?
Yeah. Yes, I have some guy wires on it. I have I guess it's 3, maybe 4 guy wires on it. There's a picture of it on my website on k5dnl.com. But you know, a lot of people don't have room to put up a gigantic antenna.
So your website is k5dnl.com?
Yeah. I guess I could pull it up on this other computer over here.
So the wires that drop down from the cross, are they attached to something at the bottom? They don't just dangle, do they?
No, they're I've got 4 posts in the ground at the bottom, and that's got a eye bolt in it and a turnbuckle, so I can do the tension on them. So they're pulled tight, but they're insulated, and they're all tied together at the bottom, and that's where I feed it from. Let's see if I can pull it up. I just brought up this other computer over here. If you go to antennas, and then one of them unipoles, 160 meter one kind of shows the 630 meter one kind of shows a schematic of it. And 160 meter one shows a schematic of it. 80 meter one kind of shows it.
Do you use it on 80 also?
It's built for 80 meters. And
Okay.
then I get it down to the lower bands by adding a loading coil to it.
But you can still use it on 80?
Yeah, I just take I can't switch it from in here. I have to go outside and unhook the loading coil.
Okay, gotcha. Is it fairly broadband, or is it fairly narrow Q, or?
Very broadband. Very broadband.
How about
And SWR is practically no reflected back. It's just SWR is like 1.01 or something like that.
Well, I've been working on antenna system story of my life.
I know you have.
I've been driving ground rods today, or trying to.
Yeah.
I had to go up, and we started driving them and got down about 3 feet and couldn't drive them anymore with a fence post driver or sledgehammer. So I went up and rented a jackhammer
Yeah.
with a ground rod driver attachment on the end of it.
I haven't seen one of those.
You can rent them at the rental places. It's an electric jackhammer.
Yeah.
I mean, a pretty good sized industrial jackhammer. And instead of a chisel, they have this deal that goes in there that just has a cup on the end that slips down over the ground rod.
Mhm.
And you get up on a ladder and you get that thing over the top of the ground rod, and
Get after it.
yeah, except then we got down about 6 feet and hit, I don't know, must hit granite, because we hammered and hammered and hammered and never did get it to go past 6 feet.
That's okay. Just cut it off and use it right there.
Really? You think
Cut it
that'll be
off.
okay?
Yeah, just cut it off with a grinder and clamp onto it and keep on going.
Just to be safe, I did get another ground rod and went off about 6 or 7 feet from that one and drove another ground rod, and I thought I'd tie the two together.
Yeah, you can do that. You get down 6 feet, you're good enough. So where are they at? Right next at the base of your tower?
No, well, I drove 3 around the base of the tower too, one for each leg of the tower.
Yes.
So, and those went in pretty well.
Yeah.
Those went in a lot better. The other two that I was talking about that we couldn't get down more than 6 feet are up close to the house, right where it's going to go into the house.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
And I wanted a really good ground there. My only problem, and I don't know if what you think about this, but I don't really have any way to get that back and tie it into the electrical ground, which is clear on the other side of the house.
Yeah. I have the same problem. So I don't have them tied together.
You don't have them tied together?
No, I got ground. I got 3 grounds at the tower like you do. And then I have, I don't know, 2 or 3 ground rods where it goes into the house. And I run a heavy ground wire into the shack, and my antennas come into, run the antennas into a piece of aluminum that have a through coax connector on it. So this is kind of like a plate with the antennas coming into this. And then it's like a patch panel. And so this plate is grounded to those ground rods outside. And that's it. My power coming into my house is on the opposite end. And there's just no way it wouldn't do any good to run a ground wire that far anyway, because the voltage drop would be so high, it wouldn't do any good.
Yeah,
So
well, that's,
you can only do so much when it comes to grounding, Bill.
well,
Isn't that
I've
right,
done,
John?
I've about worn myself out. I don't think I'm going to do it anymore.
Yeah. You can only do so much. And
Actually,
John,
went back-
do you have a lot of grounding, John?
Yeah, I have my ground connected to the pipe for the electricity.
The conduit?
Yep.
That's good. You're lucky to be able to,
It just kind of worked out that way because out that door there,
yeah.
that's where my coax goes. And so the conduit is literally right there. So if you go around the corner here, it's literally right there because you can see the breaker box is right there.
Yeah, you lucked out.
So, well, it kind of worked out.
Bill and I aren't that lucky.
it's a long way from where I am
Yeah, me too.
with the ground rods to down where the master breaker panel
I
is.
mean, it's hit or miss. I mean, just do what you can.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that bad. You shouldn't have to worry about it that much.
Now you got it grounded pretty good, Bill. And if you get a direct hit, there's nothing you can do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, buy a new antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a direct hit, it's toast.
Got insurance. My insurance paid off really good too. I had a hit a few years ago. They paid almost $8,000.
Wow.
Yep, I had one not long ago either, and it came through the cable box, the DVR or whatever. I guess the lightning hit the line, came down the line into the box where the Cox thing is, ran to every TV and every box in the house.
That happened to me.
It smelled like burnt transistors in here.
I had DSL then, or one time when I got hit, and it came in through the phone line. And it's an underground phone line, so there's a box on the outside the ham shack here, on the wall of the brick wall on the outside. It blew that box about 30 feet from the house and melted all kinds of wires in the house. I had I had two K3s in, and all that stuff was unhooked, but my router was hooked up, some of the computers, and I had a hardwire from the router to a TV in the living room, and it melted that wire, welded it into the back of that TV set.
Yep. And
blew that TV set up, blew up the microwave, the dishwasher. I had a network, computer network, whole house network. I don't know, there was about 5 computers. It blew them suckers up, and the insurance company paid for all of that stuff.
The insurance I have, took care of all TVs.
Mhm.
Cox replaced all the stuff, gave me a free modem.
Yeah.
Because it was their mess up.
Well, that DSL, that phone company, after that happened, I got to checking outside there in their box, and their cable that come underground into my house was not even grounded.
That's what I mean. Neither was ours.
So, and this Vibe cable company I have now, and they are grounded good, and they ground it on the other end of the house by the electrical power line, so it's grounded to that conduit that comes out of the ground, underground power, and they're grounded right there. And then they run their cable around the eave of the house to the opposite end where I'm at, come through the wall and hook to the modem. So the modem's here in my ham shack, which is not great, but I don't seem to be having any interference from it. I'm surprised, but
yeah, it's you're lucky to be able to get cable based on my experience, because I'm not that far out of town.
no. And you're closer to a big town than I am. I'm over here at this Podunk, Shawnee.
Yeah, the only thing there is the Fire Lake Casino. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, John knows where I live.
Yeah, I pass. Well, I don't know where you live, but I whenever I'm on my way home on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
I forgot what road that is. I want to say it's 102.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
I take that all the way to Highway 9 and then Highway 9 back to the house.
Mhm. Well, when you go from the casino south on 102 and you go over I-40,
Right.
if you take a ride at the first street, there's a park and ride place there. Nobody uses it, but there's a place where people can do a park and ride. If you turn right there and go up the top of that hill about a quarter of a mile, that's the addition that I live in.
Okay.
And my antennas are not too hard to miss.
I imagine.
Hickory Lane, the name of it. My address is 105 West Hickory Lane.
But yeah, I'm out there every Wednesday about 10:30, 11 o'clock, delivering to that travel plaza
Yeah.
and the casino. You finally got that big board fixed out there.
So what?
Their digital board they had up on the sign.
Oh.
It was out for a long time.
I don't even pay attention to it. I've never been in the casino.
Neither have I. I've only been into where the receiving part is.
Yeah.
You know, and I dump the beer off, and they take it over. So
Yeah. I bought gas over there every once in a while. Gas is usually pretty cheap. And I know a few years ago when we had a big ice storm,
yeah,
the power was out here for 10 days. And that gas station over there at that casino was the only place you could get gas because they had their own power and they could pump gas. All these other little gas stations around was depending on the power company and they had no power.
you got a generator, Ken?
Yeah,
Yeah, so do I.
got a generator. I got the house is total electric with backup propane. So if I lose power, I still got heat to heat my house and generator to pump water out of the well.
Cool.
Yeah, I had a generator put in this, about 6 months ago, I guess. We hadn't had too much problems, but we have had a few times where we were out of power for a couple of days, but
Yeah,
we're all electric, everything. So when we lose electricity, we
you
don't
lose
have
heat.
heat, water, air conditioning, or anything, nothing.
Well, that's why whenever I built this house, I had it. They didn't have any gas here then, so all we could do was total electric. So I had it plumbed for gas, for propane, so I could use a propane tank for backup. And I have a place coming out in the living room. There's a brick wall in the living room wall, and I can put a little backup heater right there, and that heater will heat the whole house from
Wow.
propane. So, well, I've got this house has got 16. The walls are a foot thick on it. It's got 2x6s in the walls, and then it's got a 1-inch tongue and groove styrofoam, and it's got a visqueen wind barrier on the inside between the 2x6s and the sheetrock, and then on the outside it's got a 1-inch gap and then the brick. So I've got a foot thick wall, and it's pretty well insulated. So man, it don't take much to heat it.
Just looking up there, what's Galen getting all animated about?
Can't tell. This is at Golden Corral. They're eating.
I got that, but he's getting pretty animated for Gold Corral.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I just looked up there and I'm like, I see arms flying around. Looks like a halftime speech to a basketball team.
Well, are they having a special dinner at Golden Corral or something?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
The Christmas dinner.
They should
Oh,
have done this on Saturday when there was the club meeting.
I wouldn't mind going to. I went to one of them years and years ago when it was at Golden Corral in Oklahoma City. This one's in Norman this time.
Yeah. Well, they just opened that one back up. It was closed for 4 or 5 months down there on Main Street. It's over by that Walmart and Interstate Drive.
Yeah.
Wonder what he's talking about.
There's a Golden Corral in Shawnee closed up during that coronavirus too, and it hadn't opened up yet.
Yeah. Well, they lucked out today because I went by it today, this morning. Going into that Walmart, and they said steak after 4, so they're sitting pretty.
I was reading later that I've got that ARL grounding handbook, and I was reading that I could have driven those ground rods at a 45-degree angle,
Yeah.
but it would have been really hard to do where I put those, because it was right in a corner of the house where 2 walls come together at a 90-degree angle. So I don't know how to have driven them at a 45 even.
I don't know if you're driving at a 45 and you hit that sand rock, and it's just going to bend that rod and follow the top of the.
Well, if I'd have driven at a 45, I think I would have had enough soil over the top because I
Oh,
got,
before you got to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I
think
got
so.
you. That probably would have worked.
Yeah. Well, if I could have got the right angle on it, I don't know how I would have ever,
It don't have to be, if you get it down 6 foot, you're good enough.
yeah, and I've got 2 of them that I'm going to tie together.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the equivalent of 12 feet, huh?
Yeah. I'd say it's good enough. Hey, John, I looked at your schematic again on your 530. Did you get a chance to do any testing?
I did not. I had a family function go on this weekend. And it's that time of year, huh?
The 6146s, they are in parallel. So you can try them one at a time. Pull one out, see if it works. If it don't, swap them. Take the one that's in there out and put the one you took out back in. Try it again. And if it don't work, then it'll just be at reduced power, but it should work. So if it don't work, then pull them both out and transmit. But you're going to have to make sure them plate caps for the 6146s either take the fuse out of the high voltage or make sure they're away from everything so they won't put 600 volts on something.
Right.
And then transmit and listen in another receiver. What I'm trying to figure out is the receiver works, right?
Yep.
So what I'm trying to figure out is if that driver tube, and there's a 12BY7 that drives the 6146s.
Yeah.
If you pull the 6146s out and you get a pretty good signal, that means that you got RF up to there. So then that might help us narrow down the troubleshooting of it.
Right.
But I guess probably first thing you need to do is check the plate voltage on them 6146s.
Right. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm not putting it off. Like I said, I haven't even been on the radio since sweepstakes.
Yeah. I was just telling Bill a while ago, I worked Taiwan about 623 just before this 17 meters. And also I worked Fiji, that 3B2 station in Fiji Islands. I worked him and I was about ready to shut it down. And that Taiwan station popped up. And this was on 17 meters. And I'm running about 60, 80 watts into a dipole.
Right.
And this was on FT8 digital mode.
That's cool. Yeah, I was looking for DX today. I got home from work a little early, flipped on the radio, and the band was just
17 meters has been pretty good lately. Not check it. Have you got a 17 meter antenna?
I don't. I'm set up for 80, 40, 20, and 10.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll probably just get it. I got the wire and everything. I'll probably in the balance. I'll probably build one.
Yeah, I just built a dipole.
That's what I was thinking about doing.
How about, do you have a 15 meter antenna?
No, I don't. I don't have 17 or 15.
I was thinking if 17 was open, probably 15 was too.
Any you been on 10 at all?
No, I'm on 160 right now.
How's that doing?
Oh, it's rocking.
Let's see.
160 meters is.
Well, looks like 20 just is opened up to South America. Yeah, 160 is rocking. Wow, they're 14132 FT8. They're getting Australia.
Yeah. So 20 is open.
Yeah,
Bill,
it's definitely open.
Bill, you're gonna have to, as soon as you get up and running, you have to learn this digital mode stuff.
Yep.
You can work DX. You don't need much power. That's the good thing about it. I'm trying to get John to get on it one of these days. I bought a microphone. At least you can do now is get on FT8 for a little bit. Try it out.
You know, what kind of interface you have to have if you have a radio that does digital, right, but you have to have a digital interface. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, there you go.
What kind of radio?
I don't know. It was some cheap Chinese radio that I was looking at playing with for the digital thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Oh, well,
gonna fit, huh?
It may, if it's a, if it's a new design, it may have an interface in it. See, all I have to do on the K3 is run 2 audio cables, stereo 1H 1/8 diameter connector from the on the back of the K3. It's got a RX out and a TX out, RX in, transmit receive. So I just plug audio cables into that and run it down to the speaker out and mic in on the computer. And
Okay.
that's the interface, because you're just putting audio. The computer program generates the audio
Okay.
and you put it into the audio input, the line in and line out on the computer, and the K3 has the line in, line out on it, and that's the interface. And this new ICOM that I bought, this 9700, and most all of the new design transceivers now just do it with the USB cable. So the only thing I've got on this new one is a USB cable that keys the transmitter from transmit to receive, has the audio going in and out. All that crap goes over the USB cable. So that's all there is to it. You don't have to buy an interface.
So I'll show you what I was looking at getting just to try it out.
And I think Bill Boyd's new rig is the same as this new ICOM that I bought.
Well, I don't want to.
It is. All I have to do is connect the
USB
USB
cable.
from the back
Yeah.
of the transceiver to one of the USB inputs on the computer.
Yeah.
I did start putting together the hex beam. Got a little bit done on it, but when my helper shows up to help drive ground rods and the heavy duty stuff,
Yeah, you got to get that done.
I got to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're doing a lot of work, and you're doing it more right than mine is, and you're gonna have a good setup when you get through with it.
Well, I don't know that it's more right than yours, but
I'm sure it is.
I don't know about that.
Everything I do, Bill, is temporary.
Well, this is temporary, except that big chunk of concrete I poured out there. That's kind
Yeah.
of permanent.
Right.
It's pretty permanent, isn't it? What'd you find, John?
Well, I can't share my screen, so
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat. But it's this. It's called. Have you ever heard of Ham Builder?
Say it again.
Ham Builder.
Han or ham?
Ham. You know, like ham radio.
Yeah.
Ham Builder.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Mhm.
So go to hambuilder.com. They have a little 4-band transceiver there that
Yeah.
has a digital interface. It's like 60, 70 bucks.
Mm-hmm. Is it a
And-
kit?
No, it's not. It's actually assembled.
Okay.
So it's the HBR 4HFX version 2.0 100 watt.
Wow. That's so it has a digital interface, so you don't have to do anything except hook it to your computer.
Right. So I was thinking about buying that and then trying that out.
Yeah.
But my big purchase is the reason why is my big purchase is that 890S. That's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm saving for.
How much is that 890S going for?
It's about 3,800, but then you got to factor in taxes and then shipping.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to be around 45, maybe more than that, probably 5.
Yeah.
But it's a gigantic purchase, and so I
understand, because
we got to save for it.
I bought a K3, and then I ended up buying another K3.
But I look at it with the intention I'm going to be using it probably the rest of my life, almost
Yeah.
maybe. But you know,
I think I had about 5K in each one of my K3s.
oh, I believe it. And so if you know, I just don't want to settle for anything else other than what I want. So
I know what you mean. And that's what I did. And it'll last you a long time. I sold one of my K3s to Alan Ham here in Shawnee. And it was about 8 years old. And I sold it for $2,500. And he was glad to get it for
so
that price. So I sold him an 8-year-old K3 for $2,500. That shows you how they hold up their price.
right. So, but I mean, geez, my dad bought this radio brand new back in the 80s, and it's still sitting on my, you know, got to do some work on it. But man, he used it for 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he had no reason to do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, he used to have the, oh, what's it called? There was I forgot what it's called now. It came with a little oscilloscope. Forgot what it's called.
Yeah, yes. I remember that. That
Um,
reminds me, I used to have the match to your TS590. I had the matching antenna tuner to that.
oh, no way.
I can't remember. It was called a AT230 or something like that.
yeah. I think, hold on. I'm looking it up. Somebody's selling one here in Norman for $200. It's called a,
And that's a really good tuner. It has
yeah, okay, yeah. It's called the station monitor. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
I had one of those.
Kenwood SM220 station monitor.
That's it, yeah.
And
This
that thing's
thing
pretty
was
cool.
built like a tank too. It was
Really?
it was really nice.
Well, I watched one of the demonstrations on YouTube, and it kind of, you know, does what the SDR does, just in a different way. So you see the spikes and the RF. It's on a scope though.
Oh, you're talking about something different than I had. You're talking about the scope, and I'm talking about the matching external tuner.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, no, that this isn't a 590. This is a 530S.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I had the matching external tuner for that 530S.
That's pretty cool.
Had the built-in watt meter and all that.
That's awesome.
SWR meter.
I wonder if we know the person that's selling this station monitor. It says Norman, and it looks like he posted it yesterday. But they're really cool.
How much do you want for it?
$200.
Yeah. Well, just for the fact to have it to go with your 530 would be nice.
Yeah, it would.
So you got that coax underground deal?
No, but I do have all the pipe buried and the ditch covered up. That's something else I got accomplished since I talked to you guys last.
That's good. I guess you have a rope in there.
Do have a rope. Use the vacuum with the string and the plastic bag trick, and boy, that worked out slick.
Yeah, that sucks it right through there.
It really does. It was amazing amount of, I've got a pretty good sized shop vac, and it pulled it right through there, no problem. So now all I have to do is just pull the
cable through.
Pull the rope through.
Yeah.
All I've got is the string right now, but I pull the rope through and then tie the coax and the rotator cable and another piece of rope onto that and pull all that through.
Yeah.
Hopefully should all go through okay. I mean, there's quite a bit of room in that 2-inch.
Yeah, the way I do that is I use some good black electrical tape, not the cheap stuff, and I tape that rope to about a yard of that stuff I'm going to pull through, be sparing with the tape, and tape about quite a bit of it on really good, You can pull the coax connectors through too at the same time,
No, I'll,
put them on
put
later.
the connectors on
That-
later,
that's-
yeah.
That's better. Well, you'll be able to do it, but use some good Scotch tape to tape that stuff on there.
Have you ever used any of the cable lube when you were doing those pulls?
I never did, but I a lot of times wish that I'd had some, but I never have.
Yeah, I've used it when I was wiring this house. I had I have a main panel, 200 amp panel, and I've got a 200 amp sub panel. And the interconnect between the main panel and the sub panel, well, it's actually between a switch and the sub panel, had to be run through conduit, and I used I had a come along on one end and of the rope, and then I used a lot of the cable lube on it. The cable lube really helped a lot.
Mhm.
It's supposedly not, nothing in it that would damage the insulation. It's
Yeah,
because it's made for PVC, for Romax
yeah.
or whatever you're pulling. I was pulling some big what was it? Number 2 copper
Yeah.
down to that sub panel.
You fix radios, Ken?
Not just mine. I've really slowed down since I turned 82.
Oh, well, you're not in the dark ages though. So
I was selling 630 meter amplifiers and low pass filters and scope match products up until the end of last year. And I did that for, I don't know, a couple of years. I was getting tired of it. And I have had so many people still want it. I've given them all my schematics so they can copy what I did. I'm not trying to make any money off of it. I've published it on my website, and I have people call me all the time wanting information. I just sent a picture of the output transformer showing the guy how to wind it to England. And
Wow.
he's asked me several questions, and I had a few things left over, and I've sold a low pass filter to a guy in Japan a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of amplifiers went to Norway. I've pretty much run out of stuff that I've got built, and just don't feel like building anything else. But I could sell it if I had it built.
right.
But, just building it is not all of it. You got to order the parts and do all that paperwork crap, and the fun part was designing it. I designed the circuit, built the prototype. Then I used EagleCAD to design the circuit board. And then I had 10 circuit boards made in a company in California, and they weren't right. I redid it, had to send the data to China, and they come back with a beautiful board for a third of the price as California. And so I started using them every time after that. But, you design the circuit board, then you order the parts, and you have to buy parts. You have to design the circuit board to fit the parts that you're able to buy. You see what I mean? The lead spacing and all that stuff you have to go through. So I went through all that. I got all that done, and I built and sold a lot of them. My intention was just to build enough of them to make enough money to buy another K3. And it just kept on going and going. And I kept getting more tired of doing it. So
What is it?
coronavirus came along, and I had a
So
little trouble getting some parts.
So what sort of, tell me, what kind of amplifier were you building again?
It was a 200 watt amplifier for 630 meters.
Oh, okay, okay.
And also I built some for 2200 meters. It's on my website. There's a picture of them and circuit board and schematic and everything on there. I just got an email yesterday from a guy in Colorado that said he cloned my amplifier and it was working great.
That was all solid state, I'm sure, right?
Yep, all solid state.
Honestly, Caleb, great show.
Tubes is okay, but you got to have a big high voltage power supply to run in tubes.
Well, hey guys, I gotta cut out of here. You guys have a good week.
All right, John.
And
Good
I'm
talking
gonna
to
get that up here this weekend and I'll let you know what happened.
you. All right. See you later.
You guys take care.
I think his wife was calling him.
Yeah,
Sounds like you made some progress on your installation over there.
yeah, it's slow. If I had more energy, it would be faster.
I'm the same way. I try to get something done every day, but I didn't get much done today. Yesterday was too cold. Well, I'm going to try to point my camera over here at this station with the K3 that's running digital mode. It's probably too far away for you to tell anything about it. Sorry about that. I'll stop it. Oh. Can't get it over there. There we go. Now you can't see the screen. See the computer screen in the bottom right hand, the blue part with the vertical lines in it?
Yeah, yeah,
All of those vertical lines are stations.
really?
Yeah, talking to each other.
Huh. So do people get on there and call CQ? How do you establish a contact on them?
Yeah, same way. You just get on there and call CQ. And or answer a CQ, you know, same thing.
But then there's,
I've got on there before and called CQ one time, worked 20 people off of one CQ.
wow,
And a lot of times you think, I just want to work this one station and then they keep calling you. And I answer them because I'm thinking they might need Oklahoma for their worked all states or something.
yeah. So do you still get on and work any sideband anymore?
I haven't made a single sideband voice contact in a long time. I did make a voice contact just a day or two ago on, it was on 2 meters, 144.200. That's the single sideband frequency for 2 meter call frequency. And I was testing out the 2 meter antenna on this new transceiver, and I turned over there and said hello test a couple of times, and a guy in Choctaw, Oklahoma came back to me. But see, your transceiver goes up to 6 meters, right?
Right,
And, and it goes down to 160.
Right.
I know I've asked you this before, but I forgot. The antenna you're building, is the low end of it 20 meters or 40 meters?
20 meters.
20, but it goes up to 6.
Well, no, mine doesn't go to 6.
Okay.
Now there is the version that the ham radio guy that builds those
Mhm.
X beams, he has a 6 meter element on his.
Yeah.
But the DX, he couldn't. I tried to order his, and he couldn't get any fiberglass
Yeah.
tubing.
Yeah, he's having
And he
trouble.
said he didn't know when he was going to be able to get any. And he said, all I can do is put you on a waiting list. And
Yeah.
so I went
Well-
ahead and bought the one from DX Engineering. And-
Whenever I was building them amplifiers at the last part last year, well, I guess it was whenever the coronavirus got hot and heavy, I bought my heat sinks for that amplifier from USA Heat Sink. And they sent me an email and said they couldn't sell me any more heat sinks because the government was making them sell all their heat sinks to the government. I guess it was to build some of the equipment for the medical industry.
Hmm.
So I couldn't buy any more heat sinks. So that stopped me dead in my tracks right there. And then there was some other parts that I couldn't get. And if the heat sink, I could not find the right physical size and one that would dissipate enough heat for the transistors for a 200-watt amplifier. So that kind of hung me up there. And then the other stuff you could get, but it'd be a different spec, different physical size. And whenever you change something, you got to go through a whole lot of testing to make sure that it's actually going to work like it's supposed to. So that kind of slowed me down. I was getting tired of building them anyway. So that just made up my mind I was going to quit whenever I got down on parts far enough and didn't want to reorder. So that was the end of the year.
Have you ever built a high power amp? Like a kilowatt or anything?
No, I built a 500-watt amplifier for
Tube type or
no solid state.
solid state?
I had a store-bought M-squared made a 1.2 kW amplifier for 2 meters, and I bought one of them for 2-meter moon bounce. That thing was $3,500 or something like that. They're
Wow.
high dollar.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was thinking about on your tower, you could go up the tower below the hex beam and put a pulley up there and pull up an inverted V antenna, pull up the center of the inverted V up the tower and put you up a 80-meter inverted V or something like 80 or 40 or
Yeah, maybe a 40.
yeah, you could do that. But 80 would be this, and 40 meters is really good at nighttime, and it'll be good this winter. 40 meters is probably good right now. But so you could do that. You could, pretty easy to do too.
Yeah, and I've got room for the coax, or I guess
Yeah.
I guess
And-
the other way to go on that is with a coax switch at the tower.
Yeah, but you could do that. You'd have to run out there and switch it or build an electronic switch or relay or something out there, which wouldn't be hard to do. You'd have to run some cable out there to switch the relay. You could put a coax relay in a box and run 12 volts out there, switch it in your shack, flip that switch to go from hex to 40 meters or whatever.
Nobody makes anything like that you know of?
Switch,
Yeah, a remote switch.
I make them. I can make one.
I thought somebody probably
Oh, they probably do. Yeah,
had
Yeah.
an off-the-shelf version. of
sure,
it.
sure. I wouldn't be a bit surprised that DX Engineering didn't have one.
Yeah, probably.
A box with a relay in it and coax connectors. All you need. But I mean, that would get you on another band or two by
Yeah,
doing that.
and 40 may be the band for this winter. I don't know.
I'm gonna do some 80 and 160 this winter.
But strictly on digital modes, or
Yeah. Yep.
so you really enjoy the digital modes, or you don't like to get on and just BS with people anymore, huh? Too
We do
much?
that on Zoom.
Yeah, you got a point there. My wife said, "What do you need all that radio gear for? You've got Zoom."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, you've got a point."
Well, I don't think we get on and talk to people in Europe on Zoom, and you don't talk to people you don't know on Zoom like we do on the radio. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just the art of making a contact. And whenever I talk for so long, my voice gets kind of hoarse anyway. And I know John and a lot of people are against the digital mode because you don't get on there and chat on them digital modes, pretty much make the contact and get off. But then if you stop and think about the people that work contests, or they work, there's people that spend thousands of dollars to go to a remote island in the South Pacific to get on and work people. And whenever they're doing that, all they do, if it's a CW or a voice, either one, all they do is exchange call signs and signal report. And that's it. Now that's not chit chatting. So that's the same thing as if you're doing a digital mode where you're exchanging call signs, grid square, and signal report.
yep, you're right.
It's the same thing. And people spend thousands of dollars on them contest stations, tens of thousands of dollars, time you count antennas and radios and all
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
that contest station that guy owns DX Engineering.
Yeah.
Oh, no telling how much he's got
Yeah.
invested.
And there's contest stations all over the world like that. There's a big contest station in the Canary Islands. It's just probably about like the DX Engineering, and they just go there and do contests and things like that. But then there's the guys that go to the remote islands and stuff to work, and that's not really a contest, but they're what they're doing is giving hams like me that can't go to those places a chance to work those islands or whatever for your DXCC, to get all the countries you can. And there's a lot of rare countries out there.
Probably hard to get in on the pileup though, isn't it? Or
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's not like it used to be. They're rude.
oh really?
Yeah, used to we didn't do that. Talk on top of each other and jam each other, and that's why I quit doing that. I got tired of that.
Well, I
Well,
hope I'm going to find something interesting to do.
I'm sure you will.
Got some time and money invested now. I've got to do something with it.
There's a lot of different things you can do on ham radio. I keep changing around doing different things, but 630 was fun. I did that for several years.
Is there quite a few people getting on 630 these days? Or
No, there's not a lot of people on there. There's you can't just go out and buy equipment and get on 630. You have to build stuff.
did you have to build a transmitter? And
No, when I first started, I built a transverter. I built the transverter to go from 80 meters to 630 meters. But then when the K3 came out, they had a mod board that you could put in it that would get it down to the 630 meter band. But at that time was before it was a radio. It was before it was a legal ham band, and so they couldn't do any power. They put out 1 milliwatt signal out the transverter output. So I took that 1 milliwatt signal and built my amplifier that would give me 200 watts. So I amplified that 1 milliwatt signal up to 200 watts.
Wow.
And that's what I was building and selling. And a lot of K3 buyers jumped right on that because they could hook their K3 straight to my amplifier and get 200 watts.
So 630 is becoming more popular, I guess. Is that what?
Yeah, well, it became a legal ham band up to about maybe 3 years ago. And since then, it's starting to get more and more popular, and there's getting to be more and more people in Europe on. And I worked Europe on 630 meters, and I worked Australia was a first, and it was a distance record to work Australia from Oklahoma on 630 meters.
Wow. Yeah, that's down just below the low end of the broadcast band.
Yeah, it's 475 kilohertz. It's kind of like 160 meters propagation wise. It's a useful band mainly because you're not affected by sunspot cycles.
And you worked, you said Australia?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yep. On this 60-foot vertical back here. And at that time, I was only running 100 watts amplifier, probably getting out about, our legal limit was 5 watts. I was probably getting out about 6 or 8 watts ERP. The guy in Australia, about the same.
So that's not using, you're not bouncing that off the ionosphere, are you, at that frequency? Or
Yeah, it is.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nighttime, you don't do much in the daytime. It's pretty much in the daytime. It's a ground wave signal, maybe 500-600 miles.
Yeah, kind of like a radio station.
Yeah, but daytime 80 meters is 500-600 miles.
40, you can work some DX on, can't you?
Yeah, and 40 is good. This time of day, you'll probably be working Europe on 40. And probably Australia. And I worked Philippines not too long ago on 40 meters. There's not too many stations in the Philippines either, so when you get a chance to work there, you got to jump on it. A lot of JAs though. There was Japan stations coming in on 17 meters a while ago. There's probably a half a dozen of them. Put your call sign out whenever it's open to Japan. If you call CQ, you'll get 10 JA stations trying to work you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. When I thought about getting back into ham radio, of course, I wasn't even familiar with all the digital modes, and I was just thinking, well, I'll get on sideband, and it'll be just like it was
Mhm.
back when I when I was last on the air on AM. But it's not. It's a lot different. I tell you, it's amazing. But I guess there's still some people out there that like to talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 20 meters is full of Europe on single sideband. You won't have any trouble. You'll be able to work 100 countries on 20 meters. Not flat, probably.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together. The only thing I don't particularly like is how far away from the antenna I am, but I ended up with I'm running the LMR 400 all the way from the house through the tubing and up the tower with no breaks or interruptions or
That is
connections.
great. That's great. And being that far from the house costs you more money, but you won't regret it. I guarantee you, because you'll have good receive ability.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me about that.
Yeah,
If you hadn't told me that, I would have had that sucker installed right up against the house, and
yeah.
and
You'd have been picking up all that noise from the power lines.
yeah, which kind of would defeat the purpose of having such a sensitive receiver.
Yes, that's right. I'll tell you that you really need to learn to do digital mode, because you don't need very much power, and with your good receiver and having a good antenna and a low noise location there, you're going to be able to really work some DX on digital mode, and you won't need to run but 60 or 80 watts of power. And used to, it was impossible to work Europe on 160 meters on phone, even single sideband. Very difficult to work Europe unless you have a kilowatt amplifier. But on digital mode, you can do it with 80 watts or so.
Yeah, it's amazing technology.
Yes, it's like I explained the other night. You have a very narrow bandwidth signal, and you're still putting 80 watts into it instead of putting 80 watts into a 3 kilohertz wide single sideband signal. Plus the more narrow the bandwidth, the less noise there is. So the easier it is to hear a weak signal.
Yeah, it's almost like running CW, I guess, isn't it?
It's better than CW. You can get down into the noise a lot better than CW even.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, that guy that developed that, smart guy.
Yep.
He was he won a Nobel Prize on
Yep. Joe Taylor.
Joe Taylor. Okay.
Yeah. Pulsar was what his Nobel Prize was for. The work he did on receiving pulsars.
Yeah,
It was
radio
a-
telescope stuff.
Yes, radio telescope, and that's what he did. He designed the software for radio telescope, and he was a ham, and so he modified that mainly for moon mounts. Is what it was first for EME, and then he went from there and put it down the other bands. I did a lot of beta testing for him. I used to work him on some of his modes. We worked, he was in New Jersey, and I was here with 80 meter antenna, and we tested some of his software on 80 meters, and we were both running 20 watts, and we could copy each other 100%. I don't remember what mode that was, but it was one of the newer modes after JT65 is what we use for moon bounce. And it was one of the modes after that. And we still use JT65 on moon bounce, even though he's got another mode now called Q65. And I like it pretty good too.
You can't use FT8 on moon bounce or?
I think some guys have done it. I haven't tried it. Mostly they don't, unless they're just testing something. But mostly it's the JT65 or Q65 digital mode.
And that's all software dependent. If you have the interconnect from your radio to your computer, then it's just a matter of getting the right software package, right?
Yeah, and all of these that I've talked about here are designed by Joe Taylor, and he has a few software people that help him. One guy in England, and then there's a few that translate the information on how to use it to different languages. But once you download Joe Taylor's suite of programs, you just click on mode and pick which one of those that you want to use. And FT8 is in there, and so is the modes that we use for meteor scatter, modes that we use for EME, and FT8's in there. JT9 is another good one, but FT8 is the rage at the moment, mainly because it's a pretty quick turnaround. You can make a contact real quick with it.
Well, Ken, I'm about exhausted.
You worked too hard today, I guess.
Yeah, I did. But I had to go back twice for jackhammers. I went up and got what I thought was a plenty big jackhammer, and I couldn't drive them, so I went back up, took it back, and got the biggest one they had, and we still couldn't get past that rock layer.
Yeah. Is that sand rock?
Well, I thought it was, but man, I couldn't believe hard as we were pounding on that ground rod that we couldn't pound through sand rock,
Yeah.
But I guess, that stuff's been down there for years and years. It gets pretty hard.
Yeah. I know one time I took my ground rod and put it on the grinder and round the end of it to a point.
Yeah, this ground rod that we were using, it wasn't a real sharp point, but it was ground to a point.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a blunt point, but and it drove really good through the regular soil. And fortunately, the three that I had to drive out around the tower, they all drove pretty good. There was one of the three that I didn't get down the last foot or something.
Don't worry about that, man. If you get down that close, just cut that sucker off and use it just like that.
How far do you leave them sticking up out of the ground, or do you actually put them down on the ground?
Oh, it kind of depends on where they're at. The ones on my tower are sticking up a couple of inches so I can see them and not hit them with the weed eater. But they're real close to the tower too, so the lawnmower won't hit them. And the ones up next to the house, they're kind of buried. And then I have the clamp that I clamp the wire on too. So it's not mainly because the PVC that comes out of the back of my house is a flower bed there, so I don't have any ground rods sticking up in the flower bed. They're underground. And the one on the south side of the house it's right up next to the house. So I won't hit it with the lawnmower. And it's sticking up a couple of inches too, I guess.
Yeah. And you run the ground wire, like the number 6 or whatever you're using, you run that into the house along with your coax. Is that correct?
Well, the ground rod that's up next to the house, I run the ground wire into the house beside, next to the PVC that's going through the wall. It's not going in the PVC. It's going next to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then you have to seal around the PVC anyway. So I run that ground wire through there.
And then you tie that to some kind of a,
Tie that to some kind of a plate that you can hook ground wires onto to run somewhere else if you want to. It's like he's shutting us off there. Shutting himself down. Probably shutting down the internet.
says you're the host now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm about ready to sign off, and it sounds like you're getting a little hoarse, so
Yeah.
I think I'll hang it up for tonight too.
Well, I'm glad you're getting something done over there. Just hang in there. That's
It's
part of the fun. You got to keep telling yourself that.
yeah, I don't feel like it was very fun today, but this was one of the least fun projects so far.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, good to talk to you, Ken.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.